Alright, welcome back ladies and gentlemen for another video. Wildstar Healing Medic Build 2 of 2. My name is Luke, I am from Guild Umbra. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I hope we can learn some stuff together on this. Alright, let's dive right in. First ability, same thing, emission as the last build. It is your builder healing, builds one actuator. It's 3 ticks of healing. Crisis Wave is the new ability. I didn't have this in my last ability, and I want to talk about real quick pros and cons. Crisis Wave to Shield Surge. Crisis Wave is a larger telegraph, consumes the same amount of power cores as Shield Surge did. It costs a slightly less amount of focus, and you can remain mobile while casting it, like most of your abilities are. So this is a little bit more reliable. That's why a lot of people go with this rather than Shield Surge. The only downside of this ability is it does not heal shields, which is kind of your role as a healing medic. It's where what differentiates you from the other healers in this game, the Esper and the Spellslinger. Moving right along, Dual Shock, it's a crit hit proc. It becomes available to you. I will say, just like I did in the last build, that I would be very careful about using this whenever it pops up. I would use it as needed, but it's nice to have that ability available in case you need some burst healing on top of your other burst healing, which is Crisis Wave. I would consider that a burst. So that's Dual Shock. Mending Probes, again, is a heal over time. It does, like I said, a heal over time and lasts for a certain amount of seconds. Sorry, I was having some issues with some stuff. But basically, it's a heal over time. Allows you to pop it and leave it and move on to other abilities that you might need to use in the process. It can also proc Dual Shock on a crit of it, so pretty nice. Again, I took Flash. Some of you might be saying, well, you could have went with something else down here, but for my reasons stated in my last video, a lot of these abilities aren't worth taking it, in my opinion. It's not a good idea to take Shield Surge and Crisis Wave, because both take actuators, and both cost a pretty good amount of focus to use. So if you're willing to go out of focus quickly, then by all means jump on both of those, but I don't suggest it. So that covers Flash, basically all our healing abilities. We'll come back to the tiers in a minute. I went again with our CC, our only CC, which is Paralytic Surge. And then I went with Empowering Probes. And then my last ability was Calm, which can also be moved around to different abilities, like I stated in the last video. Pretty much all of these abilities have uses in certain situations and in certain fights. So if you know the fight going in that you don't need a CC break, but you might need a snare, then switch it out for Magnetic Lockdown. That pretty much covers the abilities. I'm going to go back and talk about tiers real quick. I took the tier 4 in emission because of the focus cost. It's nice when you dip below 250 focus to not have this cost anything, so took that. I took a tier 8, or excuse me, let's talk about the tier 4 first. Tier 4 Crisis Wave. Every third cast is instant, and does not trigger a global cooldown. So in other words, on the third one, when I cast it, does not trigger a global cooldown, which means I can cast something right out of that third cast, and keep on going. The next one I tiered up is Mending Probes. I did this for the same reason that I stated in the last video. You pop Mending Probes, let it run for the duration, which is 12 seconds, maybe around 11 seconds or so. Pop it with Flash, and it does 50% of the probe's potential healing to your group, which is nice. Good AoE heal. So moving on, the last one I tiered up is Empowering Probes. The reason I tiered this all the way up was the tier 4 gives a buff to your party, increases critical hit chance and strike through trance of everyone who was affected by Empowering Probes. Pretty nice. On top of the fact that it increases their damage dealt. And, you know, the tier 8 ability, instead of having it last 13 seconds, the Empowering Probes, on everybody who was affected with it, you increase the duration by 3 seconds, so now you have a probe that lasts 16 seconds. More uptime on a probe, more damage dealt, better buff. I'll take that, yes sir. So, this is a build that I would call Empowering Probes Medic Healing build. You know, it varies a little bit from the last build that I had, but that basically covers the abilities. Again, you can make arguments to change around Calm to different abilities based off the situation you're going up against. Let's dive right into the amps. And for some reason it's sort of messing up here. But basically went through, there it goes. Went through a couple of the amps. Some of them are very similar, so I won't talk about them too much. Focus recovery, yes please. Support power, yes please. Reduce focus cost, yes please. We took the only difference between the last build and this build was that instead of going with the reboot, which the reason I don't take it is because I don't have it on my bar, shield surge or barrier, so no need to take that amp. Emergency heal is, or excuse me, the emergency amp is still for the same reasons. When you run into a situation where maybe you're low on focus and your health of your allies drop below 30%, well, a direct heal restores those allies, that ally, unfortunately just one of them, restores some of their shield with any direct heal upon that ally. Protective Surge, this is something I got, you know, it's not about ability to take. I almost took it in the last build, but I kind of ran out of points. So, but this one basically means whenever an ally within 10 meters takes a critical hit, you restore, without casting anything, 25.8% health to them. Can only occur every 3 seconds. Cooldown's relatively short, so I think it's a worth amp to take. I don't believe, and I didn't mention this in my other video, and I have a little bit of time to talk about it now, but the reason I did not take armor coating is, to be honest, the increase armor is really not that much of a mitigation increase in my opinion. If you do 8.9% of, say, 1,000, it's not that much of an increase to their armor. So that's the reason I didn't take that ability. Transfusion, I don't like any ability that takes your health away from you when you already have a hard time keeping your health up anyway. And that's been an experience I've had healing, is even though Emission heals you, Crisis Wave heals you, and Mending Probes, a couple other abilities heal you, some of the other healers have issues with healing themselves. And as we all know, a dead healer does not heal anybody else. This is just my opinion. I don't like amps that take away my health, even if it does give health to other people in the party. I just don't like that amp. I think they would need to rebuild it or do some testing on it. But again, that's my opinion. If it works for you, by all means, take it. Running on empty for the same reasons I stated in my last video. Any opportunity that you have when you're low on focus, that low on focus, and you cannot heal and you're getting a little worried about being able to heal, having this amp is a lifesaver. It is. So won't talk too much about that because I did a pretty good talk up about it last video. This is something that, since I don't have a lot of shield healing, I believe this amp warrants me taking it. I have 0 healing that I can do that will restore shields to my allies. So using my innate Energize restores 220% shield to 5 allies within 15 meters. No cooldown on it, but there's a cooldown on your innate. So basically anytime you get into trouble where everybody in your party is taking massive amounts of damage, and you pop Energize anyway to restore your cores, to do more crisis waves, and get that burst damage out, it's not a bad idea to take this amp, in my opinion. People can argue against that. That's fine. That's why they call it an opinion. Hybrids. Hybrid tree. To take the critical hits. Static increase. Critical hit severity increase. Null Zone, same reasons as I listed in several of my other videos. It's a pretty nice amp to have. The only reason I would not take it is if someone else in your raid or group that you're in, one of the other medics has this amp already. So it doesn't stack. It's one or the other. So, maybe if that was the case, then you'd have to find another place to put some of these amps, which unfortunately you don't have a lot to work with at this point. But anyway, moving on to utility. Initially I took all the cooldown reduction because I think that's important. Anything that shortens your cooldown reductions increases the ability to continue for you to use your abilities and heal more. So it's not a bad idea. Dash regen increases your regeneration of your dash charges. You get more dash charges quickly, you can be more mobile, get out of telegraphs, get to that big dummy DPS who's running away from you, instead of letting you heal him. Took CC resilience because I have this issue where the breakout gameplay, I'm still going back to the mashing F like super hard. So I'm still not used to the new breakout gameplay where you have to push WS, A, or D and hold it down, as opposed to pushing it multiple times to break out. So this will shorten the amount of time that I spend holding that button and getting back out of CCs, which in turn allows me to get back up and heal my party. Because when I'm CC'd, I'm not doing anything but trying to find WA, S, and D quickly. So anyway, last amp I'll talk about is Quick Dodge. Quick Dodge is, again, one of those abilities amps that I think falls right into the have-to-have category. Absolutely. The only reason why you wouldn't have to have it is if you don't have the CC break in your limited action set. But pretty sweet ability. Restores shield and restores 1 dash counter. Pretty nice. So again, this build is very, I'll say, this is basically what I ran with until I stopped healing and went back to DPSing in game, and I find it very useful. And again, you can make arguments that somebody in your party has Null Zone. It's not worth taking. You'll have to move the points somewhere else. And in that case, I if I had to do it and I had no choice, I'd probably do armor coating, maybe, with that 4-point amp. I don't think any of these down here um, are really worth it. Like, okay, yeah, this might be worth it. Attrition might be kind of worth it, but you have to stay in combat for 3 minutes. So you kind of have to gauge that as is it worth? Do you really stay in combat 3 minutes? Like, I mean, no, not when I'm leveling, but maybe in groups or raids might be worth it. And any opportunity to increase your focus recovery rate, in my opinion, if I have focus, I can heal more. If I don't have focus, then obviously I can't do anything. But maybe auto attack, right click on the mob to death. And pray that, people stay out of telegraphs and stuff. But I don't really, I've spent a good bit of time trying to look through these to see maybe what I could take if somebody had Null Zone already in my party. And it's kind of you're very limited because you don't want to take anything over here. This is like assault power, damage stuff. And you don't really want to take anything over here and over here because it's PvP related. Like even the secondary PvP stats, like lifesteal. I don't do damage, so that wouldn't really be worth taking those 4 points, putting 3 here, and maybe 1 somewhere else. You know, so you have to play around with this. That's one of the things I love about WildStar. There's not a static. You must run this build to be successful. There's several builds that you can run that can make your character viable, and they can still do their role in groups. So anyway, I want to thank everybody who tuned in for this video. Again, I'll continue to move on. I think this is the last video I'll do for the medic. I'll probably move on to the Esper at some point. And maybe do some footage this weekend of some PvP. So stay tuned, and thank you guys for watching. Take care.